Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to our D.A.R.E. graduation ceremony this evening. It's really heartwarming to look out and see so many people who are able to come out and share this evening with us. I know the boys and girls have worked very hard with Officer White and with the teachers in preparing a very fine program for you tonight. So I hope you enjoy their skits and you're able to share this evening. We're really very glad you're able to brave the elements. I was telling a story a little while ago. I was on 128 a few minutes ago, and there was a car on fire about a mile or so ahead. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it by 7 o'clock, but I was glad they cleared it out in time. I'd like to begin this evening with just a short message to the boys and girls. Boys and girls, I'd like tonight, before you leave, just to look around the room and to notice who is here to support you tonight. And I think you'll notice that there are many town officials, and many elected officials. We have teachers, police officers, administrators, parents, friends, and brothers and sisters. And if in the future, if you need to apply some of the skills and some of the techniques that Officer White has taught you, and some of the techniques that the D.A.R.E. program has taught you, and just saying no, and I know you all do know how to say no, because D.A.R.E. has taught you, and so has Officer White. But if you do need some adult support, these are the people that you need to turn to. Just the fact that they're here tonight tell you that they pledge their support, their assistance if you ever need it, and it also shows how much they really care for you. So I hope in the years ahead you'll never forget that. I'd like to also at this time to thank publicly Officer White for all his fine efforts in presenting the D.A.R.E. program. I had the opportunity on many Fridays to observe some of his classes, and I have to tell you the excitement, the enthusiasm that he brought to the boys and girls each Friday was really something to see. So on behalf of the boys and girls, Officer White, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to call upon Sean Francis to please lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sean. Fine job. You may be seated. Next, I'd like to call upon Superintendent William Fay to please come up and complete all the introductions. How about a nice warm welcome for Superintendent of Schools, William Fay.
Just picking up on Bob's theme for a moment, we do have some people here this evening that I think it's important that we introduce, because it is important for everyone to understand that this is a very important program, and it does enjoy universal support, I think, in the community. We have a couple of members of the school committee with us tonight. We have Dr. Shirley Cowan, the chairperson of the school committee. Shirley? Have Mrs. Peggy Kane, a member of the school committee. Representing the Board of Selectmen, we have Mark Haldane. We're going to introduce the Chief in a few more minutes. We'll let you take your bow then, Chief. But we do have Deputy Chief Bernie Nally, the Wilmington Police. And we have the venerable Town Manager, Mike Kyra. I had to put something in there because when Mike's at the podium and he introduces me, he always tries to do a little something like that to me, so I had to get even. Every time I come to one of these things, I really have basically one or two things that leap out at me as important. First and foremost, I had the luxury of growing up in Wilmington, and the one thing that I recognize out of this program almost as much as anything else that it does is the fact that it's established such a wonderful relationship between the kids of Wilmington and the police department. I can assure you, when I was growing up, getting a little old now, my memory's a little hazy, but I know one thing for sure. We were afraid of the police. Of that, there was no question. But in those days, there really was no juvenile program, maybe because Wilmington was a little bit of a sleepy village back in those days, but certainly the police did not reach out and try to involve themselves on any great scale with the youth of Wilmington. And I think that that's a tremendous carryover in terms of the respect I think that the kids today have in Wilmington for the police department. I think the second most important issue is that we're a very hard entity to measure. Like I told the Finance Committee last night, we don't make widgets. We're very hard to measure. We spend a lot of money, costs money to run a school program, but how do you know if you're effective? There's nothing to measure. We don't have a final product that you can put in a box and send off to a warehouse someplace, or count, or stack. But one thing I do know for sure, in my meetings with various superintendents in the area, and knowing what's going on in other high schools in the area, I can assure you that this program, now in its 5th year, now has the first graduates in the freshman and sophomore years of the high school, and we just don't have the drug problems and the alcohol problems that a lot of communities have. Not to say we don't have them, we do, but not anywhere near the scale and the proportions that some schools do. And if that's any measure of the accomplishment of the program, I think that we've been very successful. So I'm pleased to be here this evening, particularly for those two reasons, and this is a very enjoyable evening. And at this point, as you probably know, for the first 4 or 5 years of the program, Bob Spencer, Officer Spencer, was the teacher and the instructor and the person in charge, and the police department official position is that he was promoted to sergeant. He's now on the night shift and not available. I can let you in on the inside. The inside real reason is that the kids wore him out. He's old, and he couldn't take it anymore. So we had to get a youthful, young, invigorated, stand tall type image, and we found him. What'd you do, just point to him, Chief, and said, it's you? My pleasure to present to you the officer in charge of the D.A.R.E program for the Wilmington Police, Officer Jimmy White.
Thank you, Mr. Fake. Good evening, and thank everyone here tonight for coming. During the D.A.R.E program, the students learned the consequences for using alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs like marijuana. We found out that there was advertising techniques that advertisers used to sell their products. And we found out that the advertising techniques did work to sell their cigarettes and their alcohol. So we decided we could apply the same technique to an anti-drug, tobacco, or alcohol commercial. What we're going to see tonight are a series of skits that were performed and designed by these students in the D.A.R.E program this year. And the first skit we're going to see shows us one possible sign to look for that a child may be experimenting or even having problems with drugs or alcohol. Give them a second to get ready. And these skits were all designed by these students and the help of the teachers. And all these props they brought in tonight, they made their own, or they did an art class.
Scene 1, studying at Brown. Brian, I'm kind of thirsty.
Sure, I'll just go get something. Here you go. Thank you. Thanks. Get some a little extra.
Brian, why do you use those?
Come on, try some. Don't be chicken.
Come on, Brian.
Please. Don't be chicken. Come back here. Try some.
Brian, we have a test tomorrow.
Come on, come back. Darn.
Scene 2, back to the test.
equity of an officer's drugs. We learn 8 ways to say no with vehicles.
Okay, this next skit takes place at the high school locker break, where we overhear students making plans for the evening. We find that alcohol confuses our thinking, which can have a serious result.
Scene 1, locker break. Without my parents, you guys, come on, I'll just see you there. Scene 2, the party.
In this next skit, we will learn how important parents are as role models. Teaching values to their children and their improper actions can have a tragic result. Go ahead.
Joe and Rich, I'll be in my room. The babysitter will be in a few minutes. Okay, Dad. Whoa, look at that. Look what Daddy's doing. Okay, let's get out of here. Yeah. Okay, come on.
This next skit, we will see that the fast-paced life some people lead, they use drugs to slow things down. The affected drugs can stop you in your tracks while life passes you by.
You've probably seen 100 commercials about drugs. Well, now you're about to see 101. Drugs really mess up your mind and your body. Take, for instance, my friend Patricia. She's on downers of drugs. This baseball game is like her whole life. Strike one. Doing drugs is like getting 100-mile-an-hour fastball right in between the eyes. You don't want to strike out of life, don't do drugs.
These next few skits we're going to see are performed by the students in Mr. Smith's class. This first skit takes us to an alleyway where we see what happens to people when they use drugs and it takes over their lives.
Hey, Tom, Joe, want some marijuana? Yeah, sure. Hey, you guys can have that, but I got something better. Look. Hey guys, there's a general store over there, and I got my gun. You want to go rob it? Yeah, okay, sure. Your cheese pizza will be ready in 15 minutes. Can I help you? What's all your money? Whoa. I'll check for the police. We have you surrounded. Come out with your hands up. We took drugs, and look what happened to us. If you're smart, you won't take drugs. You do the crimes and do the time.
This next skit shows us when there's a large group of people gathering like at rock concerts, you may see drugs present. With the right choice, not using drugs, you can have a fun time. No, you won't be able to do it. Just go ahead and do it.
Scene 1, the MC Hammer concert. 2 MC Hammer tickets, please. 2 MC Hammer tickets. Thank you. Bye, babe. Catch you later. Follow me. 2 beers. Here you go. Hey, you want some marijuana on the side? Yeah, no. 3, 1, guys. Everyone's doing it. Hands down, MC Hammer. Woo! Oh my God! Call the ambulance! Call the ambulance! It's 44 West Street. What's it be okay?
That stretcher might come in handy a little while later. The next skit we're going to see takes place at a secluded boatyard, where a drug ring is making a large purchase of drugs like marijuana. They will learn the consequences for their illegal action. This next skit starts at a house party and the time is 7 p.m. We will learn that a simple math problem could save our lives.
I'm having a big party tonight. I want to tell my parents I'm even going to be there. Oh, cool. I'll see you there. Sounds great. 7 o'clock. See you later. All right, bye. Hey, guys. You want some beer? No, that's cool. Okay. Come on. That's okay, baby. Another, please? I don't have any more. Dad will probably notice when I have some marijuana here. Oh, cool. Give me some. I don't think you should cap that out. Get a life, Sarah. Hey, okay. Well, you guys will have to go because I really don't want you here. Oh, gee, thanks. I'll see you later. Sure. Get in the back. Wow, that tree's jumping in front of us. What's up? D.A.R.E, and I am here to teach you a lesson. This is segment A, which is alcohol. If you make segment A with segment B, which is a car, then you get segment C, which is the hospital, even with segment D, which is rest in peace. Now, have we all do that lesson today? Yes. Thank you.
This last skit we're going to see tonight may be a familiar scene. It takes us to a restaurant bar where we observe people having too much of a good time and not thinking about the possible end result.
Good, don't. Time to close up, okay? Take the pulse. She's dead. She has a little bit of a pulse. Well, this is at the hospital now, and she's been in a coma for about a year now, and we don't think she's gonna make it. Now you know drinking and driving is recommended.
Okay, this next part of the ceremony tonight, we will see on the screen some very special people who may be familiar to some of you, and also some new friends and new faces. Next, I'd like to introduce a very special guest that's here tonight. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce him. This person's foresight has made it possible for the D.A.R.E program to become a reality in Wilmington. His commitment is demonstrated through programs like D.A.R.E. Under his directive, we will continue the winning battle against drug war. My Chief, Chief Bobby N. Stewart.
Thank you, Jim. Great job. Good evening. I want to begin, as I always have to, as sort of like Mr. Fay, with a lot of thank yous. Certainly the program that we put on here would not be possible if it were not for the support that we get from the school administration, Mr. Fay, the school committee, my boss, the town manager, and my board of selectmen who make these possible through the funds. It's one of those things that our elected officials have committed themselves to, was to support this program and continue it in the future, and we will, regardless of financial problems within the community or anything. That this program is here to stay. Officer White, I have to thank you because you've done a fantastic job. This is the final graduation of the D.A.R.E this year. I could not have selected a better individual to take over and fill that large set of shoes of Bobby Spencer, and you've done a magnificent job, and I appreciate that work that you've done this year. The other people... The other special people here tonight that I have to thank are you parents. It's through your support of your children and your support of us that to allow your children to participate in the program that has made it the success it has. And finally, you boys and girls are the ones that I have to thank the most, because it is your effort, not only this year and during the school year and during the course, but for the rest of your life. I have to thank you that you are going to make a difference. You're going to make a difference in our society. I've told many of the other student bodies that, you know, the war on drugs is something like our war in the Middle East recently. The police function in that is to some extent like the Desert Shield operation. We're barely trying to hold on and make sure nothing gets worse. You boys and girls, and the boys and girls like you throughout the country, are the ones who will win a war on drugs. An army of DEA agents and police could not put the Medellin or Calais cartels in Colombia out of business. But you boys and girls like you all over the country can put them out of business. If you do not buy their dope, they will go out of business. You can do something that police can't. You can stop the bad guys. One final note, and before I get to that, I want to compliment you. I think that your skits tonight were the finest I've seen at the Wildwood School. And I'm going to say that they're mighty close to the finest set of skits I've seen since we started the program. I'm really impressed, and you did a fantastic job. My final comments, and something I'd like for you to take with you on to the intermediate school and in the high school, is the knowledge that this is the 5th year of the D.A.R.E program, that your fellow students here and those students that you will be meeting in the intermediate school and on in high school have already gone through this program. Many years ago, young people going from the intermediate school or elementary to intermediate felt intimidated. Same thing from the intermediate to the high school. The jerks, the 10%ers as I call them, I think it's much less than that today, were so loud and attracted so much attention that they gave every one of you or their fellow classmates a bad reputation. 90% of the kids in Wilmington are great kids. You were part of that group. That student sitting beside you thinks the same way you do now. He'll be there to help you say no, along with those many other students ahead of you. Thank you again for your participation in the program and that excellent skits that you put on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. This next part of the ceremony, I would like to recognize each student for the completion and lifelong commitment to D.A.R.E. by presenting each one with a diploma of their completion. I'd like to start with Ms. Richards' class. And Mr. Arsenault, I'd like the town officials all come up. If you want, you can take pictures, but if you want, I'd like you to hold the applause until the very end.
Trip over there. Allison Colqua. Kevin Considine. Damian DiCenzo. Lana Eddy. Sean Francis. Katie Gillis. Ryan Harrison. Kristen Jagodinsky. Chris Kilburn. Jessica Kittredge. Cheryl Lee. Sarah Medalia. Corey Marshall. Danielle Marvel. Brian Mason. Melissa Mather. Patricia Sweeney. Richie Tabor. Marsha Withus. Anthony Vicente. We have one more certificate here for Jamie Hodder. He's unable to be with us tonight. Jamie has the chicken pox. Congratulations.
Next, Sarah Allen. Kevin Carroll. Nicole Conley. Daniel Cronin. Alexia DeVellis. Michelle Doucette. Mark Erickson. Allison Giordano. Tom Hyam. Robert Jones. Renelle Levesque. Matthew Marchese. Jennifer McCarthy. Greg McGinnis. Danielle McGarry. Michael Pinkham. Doctor of the future. Next up. Sarah Powers. Michael Saki. Stephen Valier. Andrea White. And Joe Whitfield. Save the best till last.
Okay.
This is excellent. This shows how good you are, really.
Watch the cord. Watch the cord going down, sir. Okay, this next part of the ceremony, I would like to thank everyone here tonight for making this a wonderful day of graduation. I'd like to take a moment and talk about the students, the faculty, and the D.A.R.E program. The past 17 weeks has been an enlightening experience for me, being the new D.A.R.E officer. I found that the students had many questions about tobacco, alcohol, and illegal drugs, which seemed confusing for them at first, before this D.A.R.E program began. With this graduation tonight, they have shown us by their performances on stage and their overall enthusiasm that the D.A.R.E program works. The things that each student has learned will inspire them their entire life, and they will be able to pass their knowledge on to their children. To give you an example that we must be on the right track, I'd like to read part of a speech written by an 8th grade student this year from the West Intermediate School who assisted me in a lesson on role models. His speech was written a few months ago before the Iraq War had ended. In his speech he says, "The war against drugs is almost like the war against Iraq. Just like Saddam Hussein, drugs have occupied a territory where they shouldn't, and that place is the school system. Now we have the better forces, and we can beat this thing, but they got a few tricks up their sleeve. They have a lot of blind support, but it's fading fast. Blind support means people who follow something for reasons they either don't know or don't care about. And as in every war, there are casualties. And in this war, the casualties are unsuspecting kids. If we really try and have help from our allies, we can beat this thing, and it starts with you." I think this sums up some of the feelings we have of many of us here tonight. Like many things in life, it doesn't come easy. With family support as a role model, and with the help of the school system and law enforcement, we can beat this monster called drug abuse. In closing, I'd like to thank Mr. Osnall and the faculty here at the Wildwood School for making me feel welcome and being flexible so the D.A.R.E program could progress smoothly. I'd like to thank Ms. Richards, Mr. Smith, Ms. Zarakit, and Mrs. Stenson for helping the past 17 weeks and for dedicating many hours preparing these students for this ceremony. This dedication to the D.A.R.E program by these teachers is just one fine example of the quality education your children receive here at the Wildwood School. I would like to thank the Chief and the other members of the Police Department, Officer Shelley and Officer King, along with the other town officials, for showing their support to the D.A.R.E program. And leaving the best for last, I want to thank each and every student for making me feel like one of your best friends. And all of us here tonight can be proud knowing that we are doing our part to shape a better future. Thank you. Mr. Osnall, I'd like you to come right up here for a moment, if you would. I'd like to, on behalf of the entire D.A.R.E program and the students in the 5th grade here, we'd like you to have the flowers for your office or at home or in your car.
Thank you very much.
And
Thanks very much. Thank you very much.
They were donated by DeCosta Floors. Also, I'd like to take this opportunity and thank the business community of Wilmington, who donated much of the things that we needed to get this D.A.R.E program started this year. And I would also like to thank the business community for the generous contributions. And tonight we have a special person here, a husband and wife, in the audience. I'd like them to stand, who donated their company service for the D.A.R.E, preparing the certificates for the students tonight, also all the printing that was necessary for the D.A.R.E program to come to where it is today. Would Arthur and Adele Spellberg please stand? I'd like to thank them personally. And one of our last things I want to show us tonight, this is Yogi, our deer bear. He's been our mascot for the last 17 weeks for the D.A.R.E program. And what I would like to do tonight, Mr. Osnall, if you would hold on to this tonight, and you and the entire 5th grade school students here at the school would find a nice home for that, for Yogi, our deer bear. Give him a nice round of applause. He's been here for 17 weeks. Took a lot of torture. Now, what I would like is the students here have something they'd like to say to their parents, a message that they want to give to their parents. I'd like them all to stand. After their message, you will find refreshments, which are provided by the generous parents here at the Wildwood School, also the Wildwood Pack, and I would like to thank them again for their help this year. And now we will have their message.